Rain lashed against the cracked window of the armored vehicle. Lightning carved white scars across the African sky as distant gunfire echoed like thunder. Inside the convoy, Commander Ibrahim Traoré sat in silence, eyes fixed on the map glowing under a flickering red lamp. His comrade, Captain Suleymane Diallo, checked his rifle with trembling hands. "Do you ever think about fear?" Suleymane asked quietly. Ibrahim's lips curved faintly. "Fear reminds us we're alive. Courage is remembering that and moving anyway." Seconds later, the first explosion struck. The world turned to dust, fire, and screaming steel. When the smoke cleared, Ibrahim realized one thing: Soleimane was missing. And that's where this story begins. The convoy had been carrying humanitarian aid through the volatile Sahel corridor, a stretch of road often haunted by militants. The mission was meant to be simple: escort, deliver, return. But nothing in war stays simple for long. It was 22:47 hours when the first IED ripped through the lead truck. Ibrahim's ears rang, the flash momentarily blinding him. The vehicle lurched sideways and he slammed into the steel wall. The radio screamed with static. "This is Alpha 1. We're under attack. Repeat." Static swallowed the voice. Through the cracked windshield, flames licked the desert air. Shadows moved, silhouettes of armed men closing in. Ibrahim grabbed his rifle, heart pounding. "Diallo, on me," he barked. But Suleymane wasn't there. Only his helmet rolling gently across the metal floor. A shock of dread ripped through Ibrahim's chest. He jumped out, bullets slicing the air. Dust stormed around him as he crawled toward the burning wreck. "Diallo!" He found footprints, drag marks in the sand, leading toward the ridge. A faint voice crackled in his earpiece. "Commander, I'm hit." "Suleymane." Ibrahim's lungs clenched. "Where are you?" "Down the ridge. They took me. 2 hostiles. The line went dead. Ibrahim crouched behind the wreck, thinking fast. His team was pinned. Reinforcements were 30 minutes away. Too long. He knew what that meant. If he waited, Soleimane would die. If he went alone, he might never return. He didn't hesitate. He took a deep breath, slung his rifle, grabbed a small medkit and 2 smoke grenades, and slipped into the darkness. The rain turned to mist, painting the desert in shades of silver and ash. Ibrahim's boots sank in the sand as he descended the ridge. The faint sound of men talking in another language drifted toward him. He could make out their shapes beside a fire. Soleimane slumped against a rock, bleeding from his shoulder. He counted 4 enemies. Maybe 5. He whispered to himself, "Breathe. Think." He spotted an overturned vehicle nearby, perfect cover. Crawling on elbows, he reached it, heart hammering. He could hear Soleimane groaning softly. One of the captors kicked him. "Tell your commander to come. We'll trade you both for their weapons." The others laughed. Ibrahim's jaw tightened. His comrade was bait. He pulled the pin of his smoke grenade and rolled it toward the fire. White fog erupted, swallowing everything. Gunfire burst. Ibrahim dashed forward, firing controlled bursts. 1, 2, 3 hostiles fell. A shout. Someone behind him. He spun, tackled the man, and the 2 crashed into the sand. The militant's knife slashed across Ibrahim's arm, but he twisted, disarmed him, and struck back with the butt of his rifle. The man fell limp. Smoke cleared slowly. The only sound was Soleimane's ragged breathing. Ibrahim rushed to him. "Stay with me, brother." "Didn't think you'd come," Soleimane whispered, half smiling. "You know I would." He pressed gauze to the wound. Blood seeped through. "We need to move before they regroup." Soleimane tried to stand but faltered. Ibrahim hooked his arm under his shoulder. "I've got you." They stumbled through the rain, each step a war of its own. But as they reached the ridge, headlights appeared. 2 pickup trucks speeding toward them, reinforcements from the militants. Ibrahim scanned the terrain. They were trapped between the ridge and the approaching vehicles. Then he saw it, a narrow gorge leading to a dry riverbed below. Dangerous, steep, but their only chance. He looked at Soleiman. "Can you hold on?" Soleimani nodded weakly. "Lead the way." They slid down the slope, dirt crumbling beneath their boots. Bullets rained behind them, sparking off the rocks. Ibrahim threw another smoke grenade to mask their descent. At the base, the wind howled through the gorge. Ibrahim checked his compass. The extraction point was 5 kilometers east, if they could reach it alive. Suleiman's breathing grew shallow. "Commander, if I don't make it—" "Don't finish that sentence," Ibrahim snapped, eyes fierce. "You're going to make it." But inside, he feared the opposite. Hours blurred together as they crawled through mud and thorn brush, hiding from patrols. At one point, they heard militants shouting nearby. Ibrahim pressed a finger to his lips. They stayed motionless as flashlights swept over the rocks. The lights passed. Silence returned. Suleiman whispered, "Why risk your life for me?" Ibrahim paused. "Because a soldier who leaves his brother behind stops being human." That night, the 2 men collapsed under a lone acacia tree. Rain dripped from its branches, mixing with the blood on their uniforms. In the distance, gunfire echoed again. But they were alive, for now. By dawn, the desert had changed color. The crimson sky bled into gold as the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon. Ibrahim woke to the faint sound of approaching engines. Not militants this time, Burkina reinforcements. He tried the radio again. "Alpha 1, this is Commander Traoré. Do you copy?" A crackle, then a familiar voice. "Commander, we thought you were gone." "Negative. I've got Diallo. He's wounded but alive." Sending coordinates relief flooded his chest, but it was short-lived. From the north, more engines roared. Enemy reinforcements. They were trapped. Again. "Soleiman, we're not out yet." The wounded captain looked up weakly. "What's the plan?" "We hold until our men arrive." Ibrahim positioned himself behind a rock, scanning the horizon. Dust clouds rose, motorbikes, technical trucks, dozens of hostiles. He checked his ammo, 2 magazines left. He took Soleiman's rifle. "You cover the left, aim only when you must." Soleiman nodded, his hands shaking but steady enough. The first wave came fast, bullets tore through the air. Ibrahim fired, ducked, fired again. He saw 2 enemies drop, then 3. The sound was deafening, the smell of cordite thick. A grenade exploded nearby, throwing sand in his face. His ears rang, blood dripping down his cheek. He blinked it away and kept shooting. Minutes stretched into eternity. Then a moment of silence. Ibrahim turned. Suleiman had stopped firing. His eyes were half closed. "Hey, stay awake!" Ibrahim shouted, crawling toward him. Soleimani groaned. "Just tired." "No, you don't get to sleep yet." Ibrahim pressed another dressing onto his wound. "Reinforcements are close." Suddenly, a shadow fell across them. A militant had flanked their position. Ibrahim spun, rifle empty. The man raised his gun. A single shot cracked. The militant dropped. Suleiman had fired, hand trembling. "Told you I'd cover the left," he muttered, faint smile flickering. Ibrahim's heart tightened. "You stubborn fool." In the distance, the sound of helicopters grew louder. Friendly forces. The militants began to retreat, fading into the desert like ghosts. Minutes later, a chopper hovered above, kicking up sand. Medics rushed out. As they lifted Soleiman onto a stretcher, he grabbed Ibrahim's wrist. "You shouldn't have come back for me." Ibrahim smiled softly. "If I hadn't, who'd keep me humble?" Soleiman chuckled weakly. "Still giving speeches, huh?" Ibrahim's face grew serious. "You're my brother, Suleimani. We fight together. We live together." As the helicopter lifted off, Ibrahim stood watching the sunrise, the desert glowing like molten gold. His uniform was torn, his face streaked with ash, but his eyes were steady. Later, at the base hospital, doctors confirmed Soleiman would recover. The wound had missed his artery by mere centimeters. When Ibrahim visited him, Suleiman was sitting upright, his arm in a sling. "You always had bad timing," he joked. "You couldn't wait until after breakfast to start a rescue." Ibrahim laughed quietly, the tension finally melting away. "Next time, you lead." A pause followed. Then Suleiman said softly, "You know, you risked everything out there." "Why?" Ibrahim looked at him for a long moment. "Because if we stop protecting each other, we lose the reason we fight at all." That night, as the camp settled under a quiet moon, Ibrahim stood outside his tent, listening to the distant hum of the wind over the dunes. He thought of the men who hadn't made it, of the ones who still fought. He whispered to himself, "For every comrade who falls, we rise stronger." A messenger arrived. "Commander, the president wants to speak with you." Ibrahim nodded, stepping into the light. The next day, a report circulated. Commander Ibrahim Traoré successfully rescued his comrade Captain Suleimani Diallo under enemy fire, securing the mission's humanitarian cargo and neutralizing hostiles with minimal casualties. But the report didn't mention the trembling hands, the long hours of crawling through mud, or the quiet tears shed under the rain. It didn't mention the brotherhood, the fear, or the fire that drove him through the night. Those belonged only to the two men who survived it. Months later, Ibrahim and Soleimani stood before new recruits at the training camp. Ibrahim addressed them. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing duty over it. You will face nights darker than this desert, moments where everything inside you wants to give up. But remember, if one of you falls, the other must rise. That's how we survive. That's how we win." Soleiman looked at him, eyes bright. "And if you ever doubt it," he added, "ask the man who came back for me." The recruits saluted. As the sun set beyond the horizon, its golden light fell upon Ibrahim Traoré's face, scarred, tired, but unbroken. He turned toward the wind, the echoes of that night still alive in his heart. And in that silence, one truth remained clear. A leader is not the one who commands from safety, but the one who walks back into the fire for his brother.